Hey, good friends, we are in chapter 6, ratio, proportions, and similar figures, and we're going to be talking about converting rates and measurements. Just to let you know, there's a lot going on here, so make sure you pay attention and try to do your best work. All right, so the first vocabulary term that we have, or the only one actually, is dimensional analysis. It's the process of including units of measure as factors when you compute. And the best way to see that is to see that. But there's a couple of things that we need to do beforehand. So basically, all the cool stuff we're going to be doing is considered dimensional analysis. We're going to be units. So instead of just multiplying numbers, we're going to actually be considering multiplying like concepts like inches with other things. You'll see, it'll be fine. All right, so let's take a look at stuff that we should know. I'll look at this first section. You should know that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. 1 yard is 3 feet. I get if you didn't know that a mile was 5,280 feet, but I think I want you to know this now. 1 mile is also considered 1,760 yards. Here's some capacities that I know somebody taught you and you may have forgotten, but we want to get back into this. 1 cup is 8 ounces, and this is all liquid when I'm talking about capacity here. 1 pint is 2 cups. 1 quart, 2 pints. You see it, 1 gallon, 4 quarts. And we're going to be using these concepts a lot during this particular section. This is why some of my former 7th graders did not like this section. But be strong. I think you guys can handle it. And 1 pound, so this is weight. 1 pound is 16 ounces, and 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. All right. So for the record, I do want you to know that I expect you to know this whole page. And I started writing this little thing to kind of organize it. Gallon, quarts, 4 quarts, then you put the little p's inside because there's 2 quarts. So you can do all kinds of interesting things, but the take-home point is that you're going to have to memorize this or know this stuff pretty well. There's another bit of information I'm not going to expect you to know, but I will give you some handouts to assist you. Or you can print it off from what we do here. Let's look at example 1. So we're going to use dimensional analysis. And dimensional analysis, we didn't exactly explain it except our kind of definition. What we need to do is think about equivalent quantities, and then we're going to create rates with them to multiply through. So let's look at this. We're going to convert 760 miles per hour to miles per minute. So first I'm going to start off with 760 miles at the top of my fraction or my ratio, and then 1 hour at the bottom because it's 760 miles per hour. Now what I'm going to do is multiply it by a factor or factors. Sometimes I need to use more than one ratio to multiply by in order to get what I'm looking for. So I want to figure out my final answer. I want it in miles per minute. So I'm going to put min here. So I like to keep track of what my goal is. So here's what I do. I'm going to write this in red. I know that I want to go from hours to minutes. So I have to ask myself, in 1 hour, how many minutes are there? There's 60 minutes. So since I have this relationship here, I can write this in 2 ways. I can write it as 1 hour, and I'm going to use the abbreviation, over 60 minutes. Or I can write it as 60 minutes over 1 hour. Here's the kind of stretch. When I have 2 things that are equal and I put them over top of each other in a ratio, I'm ultimately writing the number 1, right? You know, 5 equals 5, right? 5 equals 5. If I put 5 over 5, that's just 1. Same thing here. So we don't really consider these we kind of call these conversion factors, right? So we're going to use these to convert things that we need. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So I want to change these hours into minutes. And in order to do that, I need minutes on the bottom, and I need to get rid of my hours. So I'm going to use this one here, right, to multiply my current situation. All right, so I'm going to just slide it up there. This is the one I want. Remember, this is just a fancy number 1, but I am going to use my fancy number 1 to get what I want. And what I want is miles per minute. I don't have to change miles, so I'm not concerned about any conversion factors utilizing miles. So watch this. I'm going to multiply through, but since I've got hours here and hours here, they cancel out. And I'm ending up with miles per minute. So I'm ending up with my goal. So when I multiply through 760 times, well, there's just 1 there. I get 760 miles. It makes sense. If I'm converting miles per hour, the number of miles won't change, but the time factor will. So 760 miles per hour, and now I'm going to change, I'm going to multiply 1 times 60, and I get 60. I know this looks very cumbersome. We're going to finish it off, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about how to do this. I know it looks cumbersome. I know it seems like I could do this an easy way, but I do want you to do it this long way, because sometimes when the problems get a little bit more challenging, you're going to want to be able to keep track of these conversions. All right, let's finish the problem. So I have it in miles per minutes. I need the unit rate, so I need to get it back in minute. So per minute. So what I'm going to do is give myself some space so I can get the unit rate. So 760 miles over 60 minutes is going to, what do? I divide top and bottom by the denominator. And when I do that, I have for each minute, 760 divided by 60 is 12.6 miles ends up being 12.6 miles. So our take home is that our rate is 12.6 miles per minute. Let's do another example. Here in example 2, we are going to convert rates. Now here's the deal. We have a situation where we're going to convert 2 rates, so that's why it's important to keep track of what's going on. So if some skydivers travel at a rate of 176 feet per second, how many miles per hour is this? So we're going from feet per second to miles per hour. So there's 2 things that we need to do, and we need to kind of look back and make sure we've got our stuff in order. So here's what I'm going to do. 176 feet. I'm going to write this as a ratio, as a fraction, for 1 second. All right, so that's what's going on, 176 feet to 1 second. What's my goal? My goal is ultimately to get this into miles per hour. So I like to write that down, miles per hour. So I write that down as the finishing product. Now I'm going to probably multiply by some stuff along the way in order to cancel out the units that I don't want and to keep the units that I do. So I want you guys to stay with me on this one. So I see I've got feet. I've got to go to miles. Do you know anything about feet and miles and how you can? So then you go back up to the information that you should know, and you see that 1 foot, right here, 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So we're going to use that bit of information to create. I'm sorry, I went too far. Don't be afraid of what you just saw. Don't be afraid. All right, we'll get there. So I'm going to use that bit of information. So let me see. 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. What are the 2 conversion factors that we can make out of this? Well, we can do 1 mile to 5,280 feet, or we can do it the other way. We can do 5,280 feet to 1 mile at the bottom. So both of these are equivalent because it's like having the same number over the same number. And when I can do that, I know that multiplying through is not going to be a problem. I'm not changing the value, but I am changing the units. I need to change. So we're right now we're thinking about the miles. I need to go from feet to miles. So what do I want to do? I want to get rid of the feet. Since I want to get rid of the feet, I need the feet at the bottom and the miles at the top. Does that kind of make sense? So I'm going to grab this this one and use this particular conversion factor. So I'm going to do 1 mile over 5,280 feet. I'm going to multiply through. So what that's going to do, let me get rid of that. That's going to take care of my mile issue. The other issue that I'm going to have to take care of is the feet issue. I'm sorry, lied to you. Is the seconds issue. I want to change my seconds to hours. All right, so I'm going to have to consider some other relationship things. So let's scroll back. Let's see if we've got any information. I don't think I actually put any time information down here because I kind of think you guys know that already. So I slid around, don't have the time information. Let's see if we can come up with our time information on our own. So what do I know about, let's say you don't know. Let's say you don't know how many seconds are in an hour. Some of you do, but let's say you didn't know. So we could start off. Well, we know 1 hour has 60 minutes. Right? So that's a conversion factor. We've got 1 hour, so 1 hour to 60 minutes, or I can write it as 60 minutes to 1 hour, right? And then I can consider, let me think, 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute. So then I have another conversion factor there. I've got 1 minute over 60 seconds, or 60 seconds over 1 minute. I know some of you were like, hey, I already know that 3,600 seconds are in 1 hour. And if you know that, that's perfect. You can use that simple conversion factor. But for those of us who didn't know, I'm going to kind of rock it out like this, and we're going to do it part way. So already, let's go back to what we have. We've got 176 feet per second. I know when I multiply this through, I'm going to turn it into miles, but I need to get my hours in order. So I'm no longer with feet. I've got miles. I need to change this to hours. So I'm going to take the seconds that I have, and I want to change my seconds to minutes, right? So I can do that. I need to get rid of seconds down here in the denominator, and I want minutes in the denominator. Which one of them does that? This one does. So I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to multiply it here. I don't like that this looks like a decimal, so I'm going to try to clean that up. Get away. All right, good. So what I'm doing now is I'm multiplying these guys together. So I want you to think, I know this looks crazy, just be with me for a moment. So my feet are going to cancel out, right? And then I'm going to be left with miles when I'm done. Here, my seconds are going to cancel out. Remember, we can cross cancel when multiplying, you know? All right, so I can cross cancel units as well. All right, you always want to cancel out that which you don't want. And I'm going to be left with minutes, but miles per minute. But that's not what I want. I want miles per hour. So that brings me to the next conversion factor. I can go from minutes to hours, and I've got 1 hour per 60 minutes, or 60 minutes for 1 hour. Remember, I want hours in the denominator. Which one of these will give me that? This one will. So I'm going to grab that one, and I'm going to bring it up here, and I'm going to multiply, and this is going to bring everything together. This is going to make sure it all works out. So everything's being multiplied. Let me grab my red pen, show you what I'm canceling out. The minutes will go away, and once I'm done this process, it's going to be pretty big. I'm dealing with miles per hour. I am going to get I'm going to get miles per hour. And so let's see what we get when we multiply. So I do expect you to use the calculator with these problems. I mean, you just need to. So we've got 176, or, you know, it just takes a really long time. 176 times 60. Notice what I'm doing is I'm multiplying the numerators together, and then I'm going to multiply times 60 again. So I did 176 times 60 times another 60. I think I did times. Did I do times? Yeah, do times 60. And then the answer that I get is very big. Don't be afraid of it. 633,600. So 633,600. And then let me grab my getting my calculator back again. I'm going to now multiply the denominator. 1 times 5,280 times 1 times 1, which is really just 5,280. Okay, I don't have to multiply that. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 5,280 at the bottom, but obviously, you know, this isn't a unit rate. We want to know miles per hour, not miles per 5,280 hours. So we're going to do what we usually do with unit rates. So I've got this pretty big number, 633,600, all of that over 528. Oh, I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 5,280. How about I do the bottom and you guys do that? No, I'm just kidding. The bottom's very easy. We get 1 hour at the bottom, and I'm going to grab our calculator and see what we get. Let me slide it over. And so we have 633,600, and we're going to divide that by 5,280. And when I do that, I get 120. Oh, that's kind of a nice number, kind of like when things work out nicely. So we're going to get 120 miles per hour. That's pretty fast, you skydivers. So we did it. I know it looks crazy, I know it looks hard, but it's not too bad. This lesson's kind of long, so I'm actually going to pause it, let you guys start some problems if you'd like. But when you start some problem, and I'm going to give you a couple more examples in the next part, but I just feel like you can kind of take a break, make sure you can do some of these problems. So we're going to start talking about some handy conversions. This I don't expect you to memorize. We have two more examples, and then you have your assignment. Get started working on your assignment. I believe you can do from The first few, I think you can do from 10 to maybe 20. So you can do 10 to 20 without any more additional information, and then we'll talk soon. I'll see you guys.